Live streaming. Okay. Well, in that case, hi, welcome to the Athens Film Festival 2025 Creator Interviews. Today I'm here with Hanna Gray Organschi, writer director of the film That Guy, which is showing at the film this August. Hanna, how are you doing today?
I'm really well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy to be here and talking with you.
Me
I
too.
guess we'll just thank you. Yeah, I think we'll just jump right in here. I'm just curious for you, how do you describe this film just to intro it when somebody asks what it's about and you're just trying to give you like a short little log line for people?
Oh, it's about a young woman who's on the precipice of leaving town to start college, who is obsessed with her older, cooler best friend, and in pursuit of spending time with her, will do just about anything to keep her attention.
Ooh, that is my cat.
Okay, I have one too. My cat will probably pop up.
Amazing. Well, fuck that guy. Sorry, I love saying that. I don't get to swear in these interviews.
I know. It was Punk, that guy, on the days on set where we had the little kid.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Um, where did the idea for fuck that guy come from?
Where did it come from? I, I feel like I spent so much of my young life feeling really overwhelmed by how amazing the older girls that I was influenced by felt to me, and not knowing how to place the intensity of that feeling, like not knowing if I hated them or was in love with them or wanted to be them or just like what it was. I just had my head so turned by older girls and women who felt like they knew who they were. And I wanted to tap into that and to explore it. So it came from just a reflection on what it felt like to be me as a young person, and what if I created a situation where you had one last night or one last opportunity to be you in the context of somebody who's influenced you being them, what might happen.
Amazing. That is so true actually. Like I feel like growing up as a girl, you always have some sort of, idol in some regard, whether it's somebody you know up close or like a celebrity or whatever it might be. And that's really untouched in media, I feel like. I mean, maybe yeah, I mean, I feel like there's not an enormous amount of examples to pull from for that.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't, maybe in a naive way, my way in has never been like what's out there and how do I kind of add to that kind of canon, or how do I pull from these. So usually I'll kind of think about characters who inspire me, but this kind of the genesis of Fuck That Guy was really like the intoxication of having somebody older paying attention to you, like an older, that kind of like girl dynamic, and really not feeling clear about what it meant, but feeling like you needed to be in pursuit of maintaining that connection.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you go about, I mean, with that tension, like directing that sort of dynamic between the two main characters then?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think so much of directing begins well before set for me. It's like conversations with the actors, actresses about um, what it feels like to be the character. I think that's like often what it's just sort of like, what does it feel like to be this person, and how does she feel in herself? And it's not tremendous backstory conversations. I often will leave it to actors to kind of come up with that for themselves, unless they have specific questions that feel like, they influence story beats. But um, a lot of the work happens ahead, so that when we get to set, it's really just grounding us in the given circumstance and trying to be thoughtful about the beats that we're trying to arrive at, and um, coming up with some variation, because I like set to feel very alive. Like I feel like I have a really strong sense of what I want things to feel like. I sort of think about um, dialogue as music. Like there's kind of a cadence to the way that people speak and speak in relation to one another, that's always felt kind of musical to me. But in terms of directing the actors, I mean, the simple answer is I rely on great actors to arrive on set and be themselves, and and show up as their like professional good selves. And then the kind of maybe slightly more nuanced answer is that we're in conversation ahead of time about what is happening on the day, and then on the day um, creating play, so that we can discover things together.
Absolutely. No, I love that like energy focus that you have. I felt like it was very palpable watching that there is that, oh yeah, musicality almost that the two actors are playing off of each other with. That was really, really lovely to see. Speaking of great actors, I mean, we have we have two incredible actors here. You worked with them. How did you go about casting them, especially with Victoria Pedretti being such a big name?
Yeah. So, I mean, Victoria and Karis are wonderful, and their dynamic was really special. And the kind of the zoom out was that I knew that I wanted two really grounded people, but who felt really like very different presences on screen, and also who had a different history with acting. I thought that the Angie character played by Victoria, it might make sense to have somebody who felt like they'd been around the block, and then with the Frankie character played by Karis, somebody who felt a little bit more like bubbly, bubbling just below the surface, like ready to, like so capable and ready to kind of get her shot.
Yeah.
Um, so, just speaking literally, I mean, I worked with my wonderful casting director, Matthew Glasner, with whom I'd worked on other projects. And um, Victoria was a friend by the time we shot Fuck That Guy, because like a really dear friend and a dear collaborator, because I had worked with her on, sorry, I have some honking background noise in New York City, but I had worked with her on my previous short on our project, Mercy Poppy. She was the lead actress in that, and that came from her, and very formal, to like kind of the Hollywoody thing, an offer, please pay attention. And I think she'd be okay with me saying this because I think it's true, but she was doing, big TV stuff. And I actually think, in ways that might have made people think, why would she do a short? I think that felt exciting to her, to kind of like dig into a different type of project, to work with some scrappy, kind of like, blue skies, ambitious NYU students. And she just dove in and brought it to a whole new level. And the time we were done, probably by the time we were done with the first day of that shoot, I was like, I have to make something with this person again, and many times over. So I sort of wrote the role with her in mind, and hoped that she would play a supporting role, though I think they're pretty neck and neck in the movie.
Wow, amazing. Yeah, I really did feel that groundedness, like that confidence maybe to her role too, that really did play.
Yeah,
Um
she
and
has
then
such
like
an ease.
yeah, there's a confidence and then like, to put that against someone like very hungry in their role, which felt nice.
Yeah,
Um but yeah, speaking of Frankie, I guess this is more on the writing side. Frankie's kind of mission for sex to be like very nonchalant, no big deal, is complex, heartbreaking a little bit, deeply gendered. What were you kind of trying to say or unpack with that sort of framing?
well, what a thoughtful question. I mean, a lot of things, but I think on a base level, I'm always just sort of surprised by how, and it might be different. I'm hopeful that it's slightly different for young women now who are thinking about navigating sex, though I don't know with online life whether it's any
Yeah.
simpler. But I just felt like I had no understanding of what sex should be or could be. It actually felt very simple to me as a young person. You sort of like see it, you can do it. It feels sort of like doable, do you know?
Yeah.
And it felt very removed from having a sense of self or any desire or any like anything really that felt good or intentional. And I love how unglamorous. like I love to tell a story about a young woman losing her virginity that isn't a horror show, thank goodness, that doesn't depict anything that is traumatic, thank goodness. Or I mean, because it was felt like a one-to-one for me, where you're just like, that was it, that's what we're talking about. Like, it feels so removed from self, and there's a real, and it does feel, I think you use it maybe as sort of like, I don't, my word, not yours, but there's something very sad about it. That that is what you feel like it could be. And I felt very committed. I'm rambling a little bit. I felt very committed to a real time sex scene where you're seeing the whole duration of the experience for these two people play out, and his experience and her experience are really different, and nothing terrible happens, but it still sucks. you know and I think it's funny and cringy and honest for my experience of early experiences of sex, I guess.
Yeah, no, I really did appreciate that honesty, I guess, too. Like, it is usually shown in a either very, like, tragic, heartbreaking, like, Romeo and Juliet kind of way, or it's, like, incredibly meaningful all the time in film
Yeah,
in some regard. And it is, like, deeply gendered in that, too. And it's true. It's just, like, it's refreshing to see it just, it's a thing.
yeah. I think also, often, I'm not suggesting that men should aspire for having decent or bad sex, but I think usually guys, I'm just speaking really openly with you, but like, they can have an okay time. It's harder a little often, not across the board, but often a little harder to have a decent to really good time, even in a decent experience for a young girl. And I don't think I ever had conversations about what I should want to get out of sex, as a young person.
Yeah.
And uh, I wanted to kind of investigate that experience for her and what it might leave her feeling when, then confronted with her best friend or the person she idolizes.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that perspective. And just like wanting to show it in a very honest, real kind of way like that. But speaking of intimacy, I was curious about the cinematography here. There is like that kind of intimate, close kind of quality. It's almost like suffocating a little bit in a like good way. That pulls us into Frankie's perspective. How did you and your DP, Gianna Badiali, craft that kind of visual style and language?
Yeah. Um, well, thank you for, I like that you said it's sort of suffocating. I really wanted it to feel like we weren't just watching Frankie, like we were with her watching her, that it didn't feel like voyeuristic really, but also that we felt the discomfort, uh,
Yeah.
not physical so much as just situational. Um, and I also, every time I felt like, there was an urge, and I expressed this all is the answer to be direct to your answer to answer working with Jana. I was like, I want it to be like I'm ready for this to end, not because anything terrible is happening, but because nothing seems to be changing, like, and it's not that much time, but I think for the course of a short film, a real-time sex scene is sort of a lot of real estate. But I think we talked about what we wanted it to feel like. That's always the way in for where the camera should be and how to kind of create capture it, is like, you don't know what you're capturing if you don't know what the feeling is. So I was lucky to be collaborating with a DP who can speak the language of feeling and help me translate that into visual. And then the other person I would raise here, I mean, this is a movie of like like truly profound collaboration, is Eve Fogelman, who is our intimacy coordinator, who was a delight to work with because she also could hear this is what Hannah wants it to feel like. And how do we choreograph that so that it plays, because filmmaking is a craft and you have tools at your disposal. And one of them is figuring out how to put the camera in the right place in the room with the actors so that feelings are created, not to take the magic away. But I wasn't working with people who were like, you have to suffer to capture suffering. Like, no, we can create that. And so it was just constant conversation about are we are we capturing the feeling in the right way? And then the tools kind of are just in service of that. It gets simple once you know what you're trying to communicate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I really like that as someone who's tried to act in one thing and felt very uncomfortable and pressured in a lot of how it went around, just, camera style, pacing, whichever. Like that comfort is so important for your actors, and I do think it shows absolutely. Um,
Well, I'm glad. I mean, it's lucky to have people that you work with whose idea you like want the ideas to one up each other. It's sort of like the DP has this idea for this thing, but the intimacy coordinator says actually it doesn't need to be that complicated. We can capture it if we make sure her hand is in frame, something like that. And it just becomes this I don't know, this idea back and forth, and at a certain point you have to kind of shut up and do the thing, but um it's really a team sport. I don't know how else to kind of answer the question about the second that it just took all, and then the actors too being like, I don't know, Karis and Michael both had ideas about how to make it play, and they were game, and I think they felt an overused and undermeant term probably these days, but I think and hope they felt safe in the given circumstances to then create levity, and like have an idea, be a part of that conversation and that idea generation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how much collaboration clearly plays a role in your project. I do feel like it is so like it shines. Like there's so much detail I could feel, especially and even in like down to the details with like the clothes, the hair, the card, the props used. How much of that actually was grounded in like personal memory, since you said some of this was inspired by your life versus like research and nostalgia?
Healthy combo of things. I mean, I so far have shot all of my projects in my hometown. So I'm from New Haven, Connecticut, and all of the kind of shorts that I have made have been in New Haven and the town surrounding where I grew up. So that bar is in my home, and the bowling alley is 2 towns over in my best friend's town and her bowling alley. So it's drawing from my life and where I was, but I wasn't a set 18-year-old in the early 90s when this was set. And so doing research um, to make it legitimate, to make it play and to ring true for people who were, of age at that time and can spot a car and say, sorry, no, you know. And then also the nostalgia element is an important word because we actually are in a moment where people feel really nostalgic for the 90s. And so trying to create a vibe of nostalgia that doesn't make it fake, that doesn't make it the idea of the thing rather than the thing was something that, my costume designer and production designer and producers and I were in like a lot of kind of conversation about, like, how do we make it real but also make it feel like what the young people these days are yearning for, which they didn't even live through, but can recognize. Trying to
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's like it was very well balanced so that it doesn't feel like overwhelmed with nostalgia. Like I sometimes feel like when I look back at like Stranger Things, like season 3, I'm like, whoa,
That's
that's a
funny.
lot.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's funny. I mean, I think, look, if I'm being really honest, there are some choices that I made that I'm like, I think that was nostalgia driven. Not that it's not accurate, but I don't know if it's a distraction. I won't go through and name them, but it's interesting learning to like be like, oh yeah, maybe that, I don't know, maybe it works, but it could have worked better in a different way, if it weren't there, So it's constantly like you make a bunch of mistakes and you hope not to make the same ones on the next project.
No, I think any detail you can add as a filmmaker if it doesn't like overwhelm the story, and it didn't, so I think you got away with it. Oh gosh. But moving I guess back to writing. I always ask people about writing. I just especially when I have writer directors here, how could I not? Um but I read somewhere that you say that your films tend to focus on stubborn girls seeking autonomy in confusing systems. What about that tension kind of keeps pulling you back in as a storyteller?
Question. Well, I mean, I come from like a long line of stubborn, idiosyncratic New England women. And they tend to alienate people, but I also think they're amazing. And that intersection of alienating and kind of righteousness, I find really fascinating. So, and it's also just like feels like kind of the texture of my life and upbringing. Uh, so it just feels of interest to me. That's what brings me back. Like it's the thing. I think writing is so annoying because it takes so long and you have to like you kind of have only yourself to blame when it's not happening. That's what makes it annoying. You're sort of like, well, the procrastination is me, the failure to do it is all the different things. Whereas you can, the best part about production is you've got a lot of people who are holding you accountable. Writing is sort of like tends to be you if you're not writing for hire. Um, I think because it's so annoying and long, and on its best, at its best moments, amazing, which is why you put up with the rest, is like have it for me, it has to be that it needles me. It like has to be the thing that just is like endlessly fascinating to me. And like I am just a person who is obsessed with my mom and my aunts and my grandmothers and like everything they did, I found kind of like infuriating and awesome. And that felt like worth being something that drew my attention. Or maybe it wasn't worth it. That's not the way to put it. Like it's worth it to me. It feels worth it to investigate that kind of like over and over and in different capacities.
Yeah, no, I love that it's like inspired by, the women in your life, and that's such an authentic, like real interest that you have, that's driving these.
They're
I
just
mean,
so weird.
I mean, aren't all women in a certain way?
Weird.
A little bit.
Yeah.
We're fun. But Frankie's story is just so specific too, but it does feel also wildly universal in a lot of ways. Especially I feel like nowadays with how young women are told to either like embrace or completely reject their sexuality. There's I feel like a lot of noise about it. Like an incredible amount of noise. Oh,
And to identify quickly.
yeah. Oh my gosh. It's a lot. It's a lot. Did you have anything that you hope this left people with, like when the credits roll, a feeling or a message that you hope they took away from it, especially maybe teenage girls?
Oh, that it's like okay and normal and exciting to be curious about things and about people, and that curiosity, following that curiosity, isn't a life sentence. It doesn't define you. You can be in pursuit of the thing that's most exciting to you and still have other things that you get to claim you are and claim you and try to do. And I love this Frankie's, in some ways, she's aspirational to me. The kind of the boldness that she exhibits, I was on my best day, and it's messy, but it's also like trying to feel and trying to be in pursuit of feeling something that is exciting and good and worth, being in pursuit of. So that maybe that it's like that like curiosity and being bold is awesome, even when it feels messy. And then the other thing is that, older women are always going to be powerful in our lives, and that like paying attention to what they do, you know, is is how we learn to be ourselves. Mimicking is a form of, flattery and of self-discovery. And um, I wish I'd been kinder to myself about feeling strongly about I think I just was, so self-conscious in relation to that, as opposed to just being like, of course I'm obsessed with you. You rock, like owning it kind of. Um, yeah. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it's some of the things that I've been thinking about.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I honestly want that on a t-shirt. Like, it's okay to pursue things and be curious, even if it's messy. Like,
Yeah. It's gonna be.
yeah, I wish someone had like told me that. Absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be a mess, but it's okay.
Well, and you'll learn a lot about yourself in that process. Like, I feel like that's when I've learned things, when I've sort of been like, should I go for this? It doesn't mean you're going to get it necessarily. There's failure, there's heartache, but, You don't get it if you don't try for it, or you don't learn if you don't try.
Yeah.
Duh. I didn't say it first. I'm like the one zillionth person to say it, but that is true.
Hey, it needs to be said. Oh my gosh. Is there, I guess, more on just like overall here? Was there anything that you learned from Fuck That Guy, um, that, you know, that is something that you've taken away from it that you maybe didn't expect, either about filmmaking, adulthood, sex, whichever?
You know, I that people can relate to it. I think I learned the same thing over and over, which is that kind of being honest in what you make, which doesn't mean literal. They're not the same thing, you know, like there's a way to create fiction and still be honest in what it's saying and what you're, pouring into it. But that like, yeah, being honest is how people can relate to stuff. That specificity is universal, like specific is universal. And again, it's the, one of many things I'm saying that it's not my quote, but I think to, like, you can conceptually know something and then to practically feel it was another thing. And I'll say that a lot of people, when reading the script, were sort of like, I don't know if we're worried about spoilers, but you shouldn't, you can't have this scene and that scene. People will be confused about what she wants.
Really?
And you should choose, because in a short film you want it to be in pursuit of one thing. And while I understand that from like the rules of shorts, I also think that indecision and not knowing what she wants and going for both, um, is what made it honest to me, and that's what
Yeah,
people relate to most, I think, when they've talked to me about their experience of it. So yeah, I think it's a lesson I hope to keep learning, which is that if you you kind of stick with your instincts at the same time that you invite collaboration and feedback, you're probably going to be up to something that resonates with people in a truer way. And that doesn't mean resonates with everyone. It just means for the people with whom it does resonate, it resonates more deeply.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, thank you for having faith to that, like that the honesty of it, and that it did stay relatable to people like me and a lot of other people watching. There's like that indecision, that confusion, that impulsiveness, um, boldness, all of it. It was like that's the most real element. I feel like that's the most relatable. Absolutely. So my goodness. Well, I guess as we're kind of coming up to the end here, um, how do you think, making films, that your vision and your philosophy has evolved? Especially, you've made films with Victoria Pedretti before, you've had work at Sundance, you're wrapping up your MFA at Tisch. I mean, how has your vision evolved since films like Poppy, sorry, things like that?
I think I just feel like I know myself a little better, like I think I have it's a little harder for me to lie to myself and a little bit easier for me to locate me when I'm feeling overstimulated. So I don't know how to talk about like huge big vision exactly, but I think I have, like, I know my gut, like I know my kind of creative due north. And so I'm much better at knowing how to pull the right people in than I was before. Like I think that a movie is the team, and I think that if I can get people who are better than I am to be a part of it, the movie will be better. Like, and that any degree of like awesome that they are only reflects positively on me, which is the kind of like egotistical kind of less like kumbaya, I guess, version of it. But um, I just, yeah, I think I know me more. And I don't actually think that's an answer to your question, but that feels like the biggest shift from the beginning of film school and making to now. I can locate myself in the work, and I have a better sense of how to settle when it's busy and hard and crazy, because it is those things when you're making anything, no matter the scale.
Yeah, and that does absolutely answer my question. Like, thank you. Like, I really get the sense that collaboration and like self exploration and knowledge are so important and guiding for you, which is so amazing to hear.
I like making movies that people want to, I love entertainment. I feel lucky to be entertained, especially in a moment when it feels tricky. There are some tricky things going. I love that movies offer escape, and escape doesn't mean that they're not true to what's happening. It just is an invitation into a world for a period of time, whether it's 9 minutes or 15 or 90, over a series. So I want to keep being a part of making that kind of respite.
Yeah, oh my gosh, and you absolutely did. I mean, this was one of my favorites personally. Um, I was like, I'm gonna write these questions. I'm not gonna spoil anything for anybody because they should just watch it and like be blown away.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Um,
thanks. Thanks for watching it closely and engaging in a kind of a thoughtful and just, yeah, a really thoughtful way. It means a lot.
Thank you for submitting so I got to watch it. I'm sorry I'm like so stumbling over my words today. I don't.
Me too. Me too. Who never, this is not usually, it's not the part of the job that I feel that
Yeah,
equipped for, but
I'm
it's nice to
sorry.
have a conversation with someone who likes movies always.
I know. I feel nervous in front of cameras. I'm definitely not to be acting.
Eh, No, thank you. Work with good actors. That's my
Yes,
motto.
there's people much better at it. We've learned.
Amen.
But oh gosh, well, thank you so much for talking with me today, Hannah. Where can people find out more about you and any projects you have upcoming, things like?
Um, I should be better at being on the internet. Um, I will have a website at some point. My Instagram at Hanna Organschi, and also if you follow at Willa, it's Willa with periods in between. I think if you just search it, you'll find it. That is one of my producing partner Elizabeth Woodward's production companies, and they always have things on there. They're like good at the internet, so that is helpful. But yeah, I mean, any of us, me, Tara, Elizabeth, Victoria and Karis Post. Um, I don't know. I don't know how to find me online. I don't really have an online presence. Um, the Athens Film Festival is how to find about me.
Yes, thank you. And for everyone watching at home, come see Fuck That Guy at the Athens Film Festival. The festival will be happening from August 14th through 17th, and tickets are on sale now at athensfilm.com. Hannah, thank you so, so much for talking with me here.
It's such a pleasure to talk with you. I'm really excited about the festival.
Yes, thank you. We hope we can see you, but if not, we'll see you maybe another year, if
For sure.
anything.
For sure.
All right. Well, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Bye. Take care.